Welcome to another episode of the Trailblazers Experience podcast, the podcast where we have candid conversations with women doing some amazing shit, is how I'm going to start this. My next guest is Caitlin, founder of Rox Queens. And if you haven't heard about Rox Queens, I call it the sports community of the future in terms of bringing women together in various forms so that you never race alone. Is that a great intro, Caitlin?
Literally, I'm like, come and work with us. Yeah,
I mean, serendipity is a very interesting thing, isn't it? I heard about you from one of the head judges, Michelle. Shout out to Michelle, who'd attended one of your events, gym sessions, and sort of from there, just seeing you pop up everywhere and having done High Rocks for quite a bit of while instead of the head judging space. I'm just in awe of anything that has to do with women that just spawns from that. So tell me a bit about yourself before we dive into Rox Queens and how that came about. What is your background? What has led you to this journey that you're now embarking on now?
Yeah, so it's interesting. I think sport's always been a big part of my life. And when I was younger, I would run a lot. I kind of got into my running, long distance running, cross country running. I probably didn't realize until I was in my teens that I was using that more for, I guess, my mental health. I found exams and things quite challenging at school. I think even more so maybe than others because I was suffering with quite bad dyslexia. So I always felt like I had to work harder than everyone else. But when it came to running, I felt like actually I could just really be who I wanted to be. I could clear my head. So found that actually that was my passion. But with all passions, I think we're taught in school that that's just something that you do and you can't make money from it. You couldn't possibly work and do your passion. You must, well, from what I was told at school, very traditional path and kind of did what I guess I was told and what everyone else around me did. I went to uni, I got a job in the city, I was doing consulting. I had my dad who was very entrepreneurial, but he, kind of taught me and shown me how hard it is, the highs, the lows, the need to suddenly 1 month we can't go on holiday, then the next month we can, that kind of thing. And maybe he kind of wanted to protect me from that. So between my parents, it was kind of, that was the way that I would go. But in terms of my background, I think I've always wanted and felt like there's something more. I've always wanted to have a bigger impact in the world. When I was little, I used to feed my jam sandwiches when charity ads came on into the video cassette player, just wanting this innate need to want to make a difference and not quite knowing how to sort of manifest that until I found High Rocks. I think for many of us, it's an epiphany moment.
That's so interesting. I love the fact that you went the traditional route, safe, working in the city, consulting, building that foundation, having seen what you went through as a family growing up. So you chose stability over actually pursuing things that maybe people would have thought were crazy. So you found High Rocks and you start competing in this. Back in the days, High Rocks was very small in terms of venue and events. But what was that moment where it clicked for you that there was something here for you to sort of, scratch that itch?
Yeah, I think I had been, as we all are, like told by a friend that, hey, you should try this. It's really good fun. And I think maybe with my first High Rocks, I didn't quite do the proper training. I just kind of thought I would give it a go and just kind of rely on general fitness. And I just remember doing my first one, finding it ridiculously more hard than I was expecting, then also being like, okay, when's the next one? And just really finding that, wow, I really enjoyed that. That's something I had never done before. The community, people like the judges that you were talking about, in the sense of just this support and this love and this kind of feeling that I just wanted immediately to book my next race. And so I decided to take it a bit more seriously, to get a High Rocks coach, George Edwards, one of the OGs in the field. And, he was teaching me to show up, and the training, it's a bit sort of repetitive, especially the strength stuff for a runner. That's the stuff that I found a bit more challenging. And it was through that experience and feeling quite alone in that journey. It was back in February 20. I was in this running around this track doing my intervals, and I remember like not really having that support of people outside of my coach being like, you go, like this is such a great thing you're doing, you're trying to pursue something bigger and you're trying to better yourself, like I'm so glad that you're showing up even though the weather's crap. Instead I had close friends around me being like, what are you doing? You're crazy. Like what? Why? We were meant to go out last night, you didn't come because you're prioritizing your training. Like what's going on? In that pain of feeling a little bit alone, I kind of seeked support, and I guess that led me to send a few messages. And the idea, I live in London, the idea was to maybe meet with a few other girls once a month and to have a bit of a workout and a bit of a community moment. I had no idea that that single moment and action would lead to what Rox Queens has become.
I mean, that is so interesting. And for those who are listening that don't know, what High Rocks is, it's a hybrid event that takes place indoors that involves running and a few movements. Definitely worth Googling and going on YouTube and Instagram to see what's happening there. But the principles are the same, isn't it? In terms of you're having to train, whether you're training for a marathon, which is also very lonely as well, or training for High Rocks, it is very lonely. And you do feel like you don't want to burden your friends with that, but you end up missing key moments. So the fact that you just said, you know what, maybe there are a few others who are just like me, who are looking for that community, just have that safe space to talk about and train together is amazing. So it started from there. And then what sparked the idea for Rox Queens itself?
Yeah, so it started as a WhatsApp group, so a place for these monthly meetups for us to just kind of share our training and to kind of share when the next one is. Friends started adding their friends. We went from across London to then out towards the southwest, to then up north, to then Scotland, to Ireland. And, there was this real need that I had completely like underappreciated and unexpected, which was like, the sport was booming and there were all these people racing, but then there was nobody as like a community supporting people along that athlete journey. High Rocks does an amazing job of getting people to the arena and, as many trainers as possible on that, in that start pen. But actually the journey is so, if not more important. It's not just the actual training that your coach gives you, it's life happens and it's having similar people there for those more challenging days. And for even on the race day, like if you're traveling, sometimes a lot of these High Roxes are abroad now because it's so challenging to get tickets in the UK, you might not know somebody. So kind of having that support and actually seeing somebody in the crowd can make a huge difference. So that's sort of how it started, how it formed, this kind of support network. It's kind of manifested from WhatsApp group to in-person meetups. We have ambassadors. We're kind of biggest markets are, I'd say, UK, the Middle East. We're looking to launch in India this year, also in Singapore. We've partnered with other communities. I am massive on go further, faster together. So I always say that anyone is a Rox Queen. So I've kind of said to their communities that we can collaborate and do things together. Especially for me, it's really integral. There's so much noise in the industry. There's so much misinformation. There's so many people trying to monetize and get a quick buck out of High Rocks that I want to sort of position the community to be at the forefront of this kind of Skyscanner network where you can go in and you can find whatever is very much suitable to you, but from a female athlete perspective, like putting that at the forefront. And especially for me, a Rox Queen is anyone, any age, any ability, and I really want that to very shine through in the positioning. So that means that our reach has to be as big as possible. And that's kind of what this is turned into. Like we want to be the biggest global network for female hybrid athletes. An athlete, a lot of people say, isn't me, but it is you, because sports like fitness racing allow you to be an athlete. Everything an athlete does, you compete, you have a time, you travel the world, you train. So it's really exciting.
I mean, that is just amazing. It's interesting. You've talked about how it started out as a WhatsApp group. And we all know, I'm just having my brand head on, is when you have a WhatsApp group, someone has to moderate it, see what's actually happening there. And as it kept on growing and growing and growing, I mean, at that point, you're still working in the city when this is growing, right? And to then make the pivot to say, actually, I need to focus on this full time? When did that actually happen for you?
Yeah, so I guess in amongst this story, I found myself, and I believe in fate, there's some quite weird, if you want to call them coincidences or luck or whatever you want to call it, that's happened to me. And one of these evenings walking back across Millennium Bridge, I found myself being stopped by who I thought was just a random guy that was going to sell me something, but it turned out to be Simon Squibb. And for those of you who don't know Simon Squibb, he's big on TikTok for asking people randomly in the street, what is your dream? He is an incredible guy. He's sold many businesses, and now, despite his millions, has made it his mission to free people from believing that they can't go after their dreams. And when he first started, he went around asking people what their business ideas were. And not everybody has a business idea, but everybody has a dream. And it's amazing the impact that community has had. And when I met him 2 years ago, I didn't know who he was, but now he's a very big name. And, it's amazing the impact that he's having, and that network effect of people around me being like, yeah, I've got a dream and you've done it, so I'm going to go after my dream.
And in a positive way, isn't it? It's that ripple effect that he's causing. Yeah.
Yeah. And I had this moment of him stopping me and asking me, and you don't have time to think about what you're going to say, that the camera's there and you're like, no one's ever asked me this.
Usually the first thing that comes out is the truth.
100%. And I spoke from the gut, and I believed that to go after a dream meant that I couldn't be in the country. I thought I had to go to Bali, and Bali to me was like this place where nomads are like living the dream. Like they work on their own terms, and they're around people that like want more in life, and
like an incubator. Yes.
Yeah. Energy. And I was just like caught in the London, kind of same old way of being and thinking. And it was this moment, this random stranger just saying to you, well, why have you not done it? Like, why have you not? What have you got to lose? And it just stuck with me. Like, I don't know, for whatever reason why. I just was like, why am I think I'd, come out of quite a long-term relationship, and I was kind of feeling a little bit unsure about who I was and what I was doing. And so I just thought, if I don't do this and actually follow through, and I always believe you should follow the momentum and the opportunity, I'm going to regret it. So I decided to move to Bali.
It's crazy, right? You're like, I'm going to do this now. I need to see what this Bali stuff is all about. Surround myself with all these entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And see what happens.
And, I think it's, for me, the community, I am asking people to take a leap. I'm asking people to sign up to events. They don't know anybody there. I'm asking people to come to races. They've never tried that race before. And, I want to, as a community leader, to show that it's okay. And, if things don't work out, that's also all right. So I kind of felt this want to kind of prove that. And, it's been such a important thing, because it's meant that, the Simon Squibb support and the kind of mission that I can also be an advocate for that in a way that I didn't really expect, because a lot of people he talks to don't do anything after they've met him. They just stick with how they were. And, it takes only a few of us to maybe lead the way. So that kind of led me on that path. But I went there, and I was still doing my UK job, and it's an 8-hour time difference. So I wasn't really seeing Bali, working till like 1, 2 a.m. No choice. And in the day when I should be enjoying Bali, I was working on Rox Queens and trying to push and grow that. And I've dabbled with founder entrepreneur things. I've had a little protein ball company, but I've never really done something like this. I've never taken a community and scaled its impact. I've never thought about how can you monetize that. I've never thought about and had to deal with partnerships, and it's all very new. And I think I learned quite quickly that you cannot remove yourself from what you're building. And I was on the other side of the world, and I was sort of hearing and getting people to represent me on my behalf at very key High Rocks races on the ground. And it just became evident very quickly that unless I was driving this and, really getting as much face time and visibility as possible, it wasn't going to have the impact that I wanted it to have.
I think that's a very valuable lesson, isn't it, for any founders or entrepreneurs who are listening, is at the beginning, you are the person who has to be that driving force. You are the person who has to be front and center and wearing different hats. Because then it's also believable. People buy into it, buy into the concept, buy into you. You know, I see you at so many events, and that is what is making people gravitate towards you and saying, oh, actually, this is a thing. This is a community. You know, she is actually showing up. What did actually being in Bali teach you? So apart from the fact that you had to be at the forefront, was it important for you to take yourself out of the UK and your day to day to be able to, you know, develop more, to put the concept together? Was that important? Or did you also meet some people while you were there who helped you with, you know, surrounding yourself with people who are on that same journey? Was that positive?
Yeah, I think it is. I've been reading about this. It's called the resilient tax. And it's the idea that for a lot of founders, obviously, cash flow is a major blocker, which can have a company fold. But also, if you, as a founder, don't back yourself and you get to the point where you just feel like you've given it everything and you're not getting enough back, that will be the reason you quit. There'll come that time when actually what you're putting in is just not matching what you're expending, and you just have to make that decision. But there's so many times when I look back and I thought I was at that crossroads, you know, because I'm on the other side of the world. I don't really know many people. I just moved out here because of the time difference. Like when I'm awake, I can't really speak to my friends back home, and I am, you know, just questioning everything. And there is no one apart from yourself that you can talk to and work through that with. And I think it made me realize, like, I am capable. And, you know, maybe I did, yes, need to completely take myself away from the Caitlin who I thought I was. And, you know, that Caitlin back in the UK was in a relationship with somebody who, you know, told her that her ideas meant that she lived in cartoon land because she dreamt too big. That Caitlin was somebody who was maybe living a life that her parents wanted for her because deep down they regretted that, you know, maybe they didn't have, like my dad maybe regrets that he didn't have that stability because he went down the entrepreneurial path. So, and I was like, well, what do I want? And I really had time to think about that. And yeah, so I think it taught me that I never want to lose my sense of adventure and just going for things, because it's got me to where I am today. You know, I'm not afraid of failure. I'm not afraid to try things and to go first. There's a famous TED talk about how you start a movement, and the lone nut is the first person dancing, and then it takes 5 and then 10 and 15, and then you've got a movement. And you know, I do believe that it takes that person, and I'm happy to be that person. And my story, every moment that I have done that has resulted in either amazing learning or an amazing opportunity. And I was out there and I received a DM from somebody who, it was her personal account, and she had a photo with her baby, and she said, I work for Nike and I've been following your journey, and I would love to invite you and your community to do some focus groups and some insight sessions to help us navigate how we show up in the hybrid space. And I said to her, well, you know, this is really good, not thinking that she's Nike, but I was like, can you just send me an email tomorrow? And she's like, yeah, sure. And then, you know, she sends through an official email, and you know, she happens to work in the brand team at Nike. So I'm like, okay, this is legit. So I said to her, if you can give me 20 minutes of your time to present the vision of what I'm building, I'll give you 3-4 focus groups. I didn't tell her that I happened to be on the other side of the world. And she said, yeah, definitely.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, so she said, come into the HQ. So I believed that was my time to at least go back and visit home. I didn't know that I would end up staying, but I just thought, you know, it was maybe time to go back, catch up with people. And we were doing things in the Middle East, and it was kind of a midway point between Bali. So I kind of factored that into the plans, went and saw them. And then, yeah, that was kind of the moment where things fell into place, really, where, you know, you go from somebody who's made a logo on Canva to the biggest sports brand in the world saying, we want to amplify what you're doing.
I mean, that's so interesting, isn't it? It's all a bit of connecting the dots, because I'm thinking you're working in the city, consulting background. The fundamentals of what you used to do there are definitely helping you building this business as well, and how to present and how to position yourself. So although you've now ended up in this direction being entrepreneurial, all of those building blocks have been formed in the background. Isn't that so interesting how life works, as well? And then establishing a partnership with, was it even on your vision board that they were going to be one of the people you could work with?
Honestly, like it was a dream come true. And I like, I think you get a little bit of luck and you just have to like just run with it. Like you just have to, and you have to give people the benefit of the doubt. Like, when I had that encounter with Simon Squibb, it was like I was helping him having a conversation. When this woman messaged me on Instagram, I could have easily, it's spam. I won't even acknowledge it, but you just never know. And even you just shoot your shot. Like, even for me to ask for that pitch, I guess was a little bit out there, but I just thought, yeah, we would just see. And yeah, so that's kind of, yeah, led us to where we are. But I think, the other learnings for other founders is, you have to enjoy the journey and kind of really look at it as milestones and moments that add up over time, because getting the partnership with Nike is just the beginning. It really is. There is so much still that we are still navigating on a daily basis, when it comes to protecting and, staying true to who you are when they are so powerful and so much bigger and have so much more budget. That there's real, you have to learn when to give and when to accept and when actually to kind of stand your ground. And they are an incredibly supportive partner. They really believe in what we're doing, but they have their own business objectives. Of course they do. They're very specific on their audience, and we have to find ways to align with that. But then also we celebrate every athlete, so we have to make sure that no one feels left out or underrepresented. So it's a kind of this constant dance of just understanding how to work with each other. And there have been moments, I'll be open on this podcast, that I've cried because maybe I have felt that I've maybe agreed to things that don't align with the values, but have felt a bit pressured into doing so. There have been times when, out of pure, I guess, just not knowing, worn Puma trainers and not thought anything of it. And it's been picked up by the brand team and seen as me not respecting the partnership. But it's just a whole new world that I didn't even think twice of when it came to that, is that you just have to face and just like learn from, and then you just won't do it again. But then also not feel like you can't, because you're much smaller, that you can't stay true to yourself and stand up. And there have been moments when I've said no. I said that's not going to work for us. Or if we are looking to do something with a certain segment of the audience, we then need to do a community event, which is for everybody, a couple of weeks later. Or if we're looking to a big focus for Nike is this rising athlete, this podium chaser, and she tends to be a little bit younger, maybe coming out of university. And there's this want, which I understand, for brands to have that legacy and that loyalty. But a hybrid athlete is your older athlete, because the beauty of hybrid fitness is that anyone can do it. That's why it's so popular. So I will always advocate for community relay teams, or we did a clubhouse, a physical pop-up at one of the races last year. And I said that is for all of the community. And, it's starting to get noticed. And we spoke before we recorded about a business advisor coming in to Rox Queens. Her name is Lynn, and she found Rox Queens because she came to this clubhouse in Olympia, and she felt for the first time, despite being in her 50s, she felt welcomed, she felt represented. Her daughter loved it. And she then was traveling. She's got quite a big high flyer corporate job, and she found that often she's in hotel rooms by herself in these amazing places. And I said to her, you're in Dubai. We have a really epic community there. And next thing I know, she's racing with them. They're doing this 100K relay in the desert, and she's like got herself involved. And I was like, that is what we are trying to do here. And she got it, and she put her hand up and said, I want to be an advisor. I want to support you, because she gets it. Like, especially with, she has these conversations and is in boardrooms quite often, and she understands what it's like. And I really wanted her to learn from her in that experience, because it doesn't come naturally to me. Like I do find those environments a little bit intimidating. So it's been really helpful for her to come in, but I can see that she is maybe realizing and seeing firsthand the barriers that I've been experiencing, and she's speaking openly out about it because she feels frustrated, because she sees it. She knows that she sits in a gambling kind of finance industry where the budgets are just so different. And I was explaining to her like the money that we're asking for that will make such a difference. She was like, I spend that on a night out entertaining clients. And I was like, it's just a different world. And I think, she's teaching me to be more open, and her putting a LinkedIn post out, not calling brands out, but just pointing out an issue that all of us are feeling, but are maybe too scared to say, has actually been so refreshing, because it's incredible the response that that's had of women being like, I feel like this, I feel underrepresented, or I know a brand that actually is changing the industry. And then we then know who we want to work with too. And also she's taught me in that openness to be a bit more vulnerable, because she was like, I think people just don't realize like how much you're doing and how much you're giving. And like the fact it's only myself and Risha, who's amazing, our community manager, like we're trying to grow this beast as big as possible. So I'm really grateful. And I think that's another learning for founders here is lean into that support, lean into people who are better and more experienced than you. You will then be able to go further faster.
I mean, there's so much to be said about everything that you've said has come through in terms of what your values and the purpose of, Rox Queens is for every woman out there. And to your point, especially when we see advertisements targeted at a specific woman, specific size, specific group, it's really good to see that such a movement is coming across as well. And in terms of funding, oh my God, we can talk for hours on that one. We know 4% of any investment, or even less sometimes, goes to women. And it's really good to see that what's resonating is you're staying true to your values. The purpose of what Rox Queens is shining through. And you will learn, this is not the only partnership that you're going to have. So it started with Nike. The next time you negotiate, you will know what is important to you from what you've learned from this one as well, but also how it's amplified. The voice is really key. The ripple effect of what you're doing shines through is so important. So let's fast forward. For those who don't even know what Rox Queens has achieved so far. We've talked about a WhatsApp group that's now big community events. It's now gone technical, isn't it, in the terms of the tech space? You've launched in terms of an app. Talk to me about that. How has that been?
Yeah, so again, being open, it's my second app launch, and my first app launch was a failure. And I own that. And I'll tell you why it was a failure. It was a failure because I didn't ask people what they want. I built assuming what they wanted. And I thought the WhatsApp groups, which I still think they are to some extent, are not sustainable. When somebody joins, you can't see the messages from before. It's really challenging to keep on top of messages. So my solution was at the time to build somewhere else to chat, a place where each section or city has its own group. And I guess I didn't anticipate the behavioral change and the, barrier where WhatsApp is on your phone, it's so easy, but having to go into another app and to open it up. And then obviously not everybody's in the chats, so you're still kind of half using WhatsApp. We basically just didn't get the adoption that we were looking for. And it was me, wanting to support a female founder, and her business, her app that we were using for that was maybe not as developed as maybe I thought it was. And so I had people kind of giving a lot of feedback that, it's quite technical and they're not that technical. And also at the time, I believed that I had to have just one platform and that I had to almost like force people to kind of move over, because I was nervous of that whole, oh, I'm on here. But actually, I've come to realize that you really need to diversify, because you're never going to please everybody. And some people love the WhatsApp groups, and that's great. But other people actually want more curated content. And that kind of led me onto this journey of thinking out, okay, how do I give people more value? And what is it, what can we do and give that goes a level deeper than just events and just community support? And our mission is that no one races alone. But the biggest barrier to people racing alone is that when it comes to training, when it comes to booking a race, they don't know anyone to do it with. And so often they don't book the race, they don't try, or they end up pairing or partnering with somebody that they know or who's not the right level to them, or someone's injured and so somebody just puts their hand up and they do it as a favor. And so you spend all that money and you're not even getting the podium that you deserve. And this is a problem that we've been solving with spreadsheets. And people would come to us and say, can you recommend me somebody? And we were doing it manually. And I guess over time, we came to realize that we were kind of building this sort of, I guess, female dating agency. I really feel very like I'm aware of who in the space is up and coming. I'm aware of, like, I work with the High Rocks newbies community, like who in that space as well is looking to maybe be mentored by somebody. I'm very aware of now we've got affiliate gyms, different hubs where people can train. And if I see people are coming from a certain place, I can invite them to train together. And so that led
Like a
me
matchmaking, isn't it?
yeah, and that led me to kind of produce that. And I'm very lucky with the Simon Squibb partnership. He is a mentor. And I remember saying to him, I'm at a crossroads. I've tried to build an app. I don't really want to go and spend lots of money producing a second app in case the same thing happens again. And I don't quite know what I'm building. And he said to me, I've got the perfect solution for you. I was like, oh, you're going to invest. And he was
Yeah,
like,
the keyword. Are you going to invest? Is like, no.
but this is what's really good is I think lots of people believe he's like a piggy bank. And, because on socials, he's like, here's 5-10 grand. But you have to work, you have to prove that like you have something. And
It feels like he connects you and you have to do the work, basically. He gets you in the room with the person that you needed to be with, but the work you still have to do.
100%. And,
Yeah.
And so he connected me to a company that I would really recommend, and they're called Lovable. And Lovable is an AI-powered app builder that allows you to build at a very low price point.
You don't even need any coding skills. It's no code. Yeah.
Just put credits in and you can build anything you wish. And it's incredible. And you then can create a website, but you can use that as like a web app that people can download on their phones. And that's what I have for iPhone and Android. And obviously, because it's AI powered, you can make changes very quickly. So people, if they have a bug and I speak to my tech team, it's just me very quickly putting a prompt in. But that's been brilliant. So we launched that. So I actually beta tested it. I forgot to say that's a very key aspect of this. So I beta tested with 100 of our very OG queens, and I got them to help me build this. It was a very raw process because I would be very proud to put something out and they would rip it apart within minutes. But that is the point. And I loved it. I loved it. Every week I'd give updates on you said and we fixed. And we have a place, we have a home. And my ambition is by the end of the High Rock season, which is July, is to have 100,000 accounts on there. And it is not just...
How many have you achieved so far?
So we're just about to hit our first 2,000 in our first kind of 8 weeks, which is I'm really happy about.
So that's pretty good. Yeah.
I'm happy about. And I think
It's a milestone, isn't it? A good milestone.
It's a milestone. And I think I've been a bit hesitant in just making sure everything runs smoothly before I really open the floodgates. And I think I'm like comfortable now that, I think we've got good feedback. I think I've got more to do to make it sticky and make people want to come back, but it's working. That's the main thing. And for me, what I'm excited about is it's not just the dating, like matchmaking, it's the direct, like in Instagram, when you follow people, you don't know anything about them, but now like your profile, it shows everything from, where you train and if you want to meet up with somebody, like their availability to their past 3 race data. So you can filter and see who's a good match, to if you're traveling abroad and you want to meet up with somebody and they happen to live there, you can message them or you can, so that for me is really exciting because that is a constant thing that I was finding. Like when I message people about events randomly on Instagram, I was constantly getting it, oh, I don't live there, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, you're getting all the answers. Like, don't tell me why you can't do it. I want to know the people who can. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's kind of where we're at. And then that's kind of the affiliate gym piece as well has supported that because I say to every affiliate gym, like get all your members on board. And that was an idea that I just thought we would test. And yeah, I think there's about 7-8 affiliate gyms. So I'm ramping that up now. We've got flags that they have. They're doing events. We're bringing local women together, because it's all well and good having this big ecosystem. But if for no one to race alone, it's got to be relatable. It's got to be local.
And I think, going back to that women crave spaces where they feel seen and heard, it was really good to see that when you were testing the platform, that everyone came and rallied on and gave you hardcore feedback. They were like, this is not working. It's because they also want to see you win as well, because it's beneficial to them. What do you think has been the most powerful, surprising moments of connection with your community so far?
Wow, that's an amazing, amazing question. Do you know, I think there's an episode of this story which I left out when I shouldn't have, which is in November last year before Christmas. I found myself hospitalized with essentially blood infection, which I'd left. And so it developed into sepsis, essentially. And I was forced to stop for the first time in, well, just short of 2 years. Like I'd never stopped. Any moment that I could work on my dream, I was pushing, and I always believed I had to be ahead, and that someone was coming up behind me to take over. And I stopped, and I did share a photo because I was so nervous that if I didn't put this up, that people would be like chasing me and be concerned, like why I'm not responding. And the last thing I wanted when I was going through that was people almost like putting additional pressure. So I put out this story and I just said, like, nothing to worry about, but I'm going to be in here for a few days. And I cannot explain, like my DMs were just flooded with like all this incredible like support, and like, I'm just checking, like, what's happened and what can I give you? And I had forgotten to ask myself that question in 2 years. I'd forgotten myself. And it taught me, like, if you lose your health, like you have nothing, like it's your most precious commodity. And, I built this community for myself to solve a problem because I wanted connection and community, but I wasn't giving it to myself. I was heads down fighting constantly. And it got to the point where I had to have this like health situation happen to actually realize again the power and the need for the community, but also that I cannot let that happen again. And it's actually something a lot of people, whenever I see them in person, like they'll say to me, just checking that your health's okay. And I'm like, wow, this really affected people. Like these people really saw and really, really care. They really care. And that's what that's taught me, that people care, and you can get things misconstrued. Like I get a lot of messages about Nike kits and when can I get some free trainers? And sometimes you're like, oh, do people really care? Do they really want to do this for the right reasons? They do care, and they do see what we're doing. So that's probably the biggest lesson that I've learned.
I mean, Caitlin, what you're doing is being of service to others, but in order to be of service to others, you have to take care of yourself. I think that's really key, is you can't do this if you're not at your best health-wise. And I'm so glad that you're feeling much better now. But it just really shows, isn't it? Do you think now it's become bigger than you? Because you're saying it's yourself and one other person, it's become bigger. This movement is turning into an actual business, isn't it? That will need more people to come on board. Do you think you're at that stage, or it's still a grind at the moment?
Yeah, so we're very lucky with our ambassador network. Like that's really been a huge support for us. There's about 25 ambassadors who are incredible. They're volunteers, they run events, and they're working to kind of spread the word, and that's been a big help. But yeah, I think the funding is the challenge that I'm trying to navigate, for the next few months. I'm really looking to get more funding in, and so I can grow the team. And, I think right now it's very much, we're in the thick of it. I think, I care about my team. So we have a community manager full time. We have an amazing content video guy who tells the stories and amplifies that, which I'm really grateful for. And he goes to the races and gives the girls a chance to have their races shared. And I notice sometimes that they also get overwhelmed because there is so much to do and everyone wants their attention. And I want to put this protective bubble over everybody. And they've been incredibly understanding, because as startups go, like some months we've had to make a few cuts and they've volunteered extra time. That's how they met that challenge, is okay, well, we're not going to cut our effort. we know and see how hard you're pushing. So it's a really crucial couple months. And I think with Lynn coming in, and she is like taking everything to the next level, and you have to be okay with that. She is breaking all my processes. She is giving me heaps of feedback on my decks that I already spent ages on, that I have to start again on. All of this, it's like with muscles, like you have to break them before you get stronger. And so that's kind of what I'm doing at the moment. And yeah, I'm really excited to navigate what that looks like. And, we are trying to get out of being a scrappy startup. We're trying to find more ahead of next season. We want to find season sponsors. We want people to come in with large scale funding so that, we then can plan in advance the events that we're doing. And for brands, it's more authentic because you want to show up throughout the journey. You want to follow people all the way through. You don't just want a gift and then never see them again. So yeah, I think we're starting to look at this maturity, but you forget with these overnight successes, they were never overnight. Simon Squibb was going for 5-6 years before he blew up on socials. So our birthday is next month, our 2-year birthday. So we're still quite fresh in the game. I've only been doing it full time for 7-8 months. So I just want to hold on in there, I think, is the plan for the next few months.
I think that's it. You have to see it through. You've been so consistent so far. And I think the milestones at the moment may not be monetary, but the milestones are the people, how big the community has grown, how it's being amplified, the followers that you have, the messages that you get back from people that, they manage to matchmake. So take those with you and keep that going. And obviously doing podcasts like this, someone might listen to it and say, hey, I want to invest. You never know who's actually listening. But most of all, I think you just you're sharing your story. I'm going to now go and end the podcast with, I always end it with takeaway tips. So you've had such an interesting journey, ups and downs. What are 3 things that you would share in terms of pieces of advice if you were starting this, again?
I think it's to be curious. Like, don't go wanting to make loads of money from the start. Like, that's, if you do it well, that will be hopefully a thing that comes. But be curious, have a problem you want to solve. The second thing is work with people and celebrate community and support. I think we're taught to believe that everyone, especially in the business world, is like, we're like competitors and everyone's out to get each other. But every collaboration and promotion has helped me and also helped them. And then the third thing is, and I'm still navigating this, is, you are your business when you're a startup. It's an extension of yourself and your values, but you are human, and you are an incredible human who deserves to be celebrated and to be supported and treated. And you shouldn't lose yourself in that at the expense of your business. And you don't need external validation to give you that. You can give that to yourself in so many ways that are completely free. Just even gratitude every day. Just even giving yourself time to do something that you enjoy, not because you feel you have to. Like, we work for ourselves. So why are we not exercising that freedom to have that extra hour lunch outside, to have that lie-in because you were working late that night? You have no one else to justify to but yourself.
Caitlin, this has been amazing. To think, actually, we're circling back that we need each other. You thought you had to go to Bali to make this happen, but it's just been an incredible story. I think even just watching you, it's been inspiring also to listen to. And I know that someone out there will be inspired by what you've just shared.
Thank you so much for having me. I've loved it.
Can you tell the audience where they can find you? Socials, where do they sign up to the app when it's ready? We need to get people following and jumping into this movement.
Amazing. So we are Rox_Queens on Instagram, and all our links are in our bio. Come and join events, WhatsApp groups. You can sign up to the app. And then I'm Caitlin Robbins, and that's my personal Instagram. But yeah, can't wait to see you all soon.
Perfect. For those listening, this has been the Trailblazers Experience podcast. Looking forward to your comments. Give us a follow, a share, and another thing, tell another woman about the podcast. Thank you so much.